My own medical unit manager, Jessica, says she experienced and has written about it for multiple publications. She recently tested COVID-19 negative, thankfully. Jessica, explain what happened to you. And I must admit, I didn't realize it was happening to you, but in only retrospect did I start to piece together the puzzle that you were suffering through.
So a couple of weeks after I started to recover from COVID, I noticed I was experiencing some short-term memory problems and also brain fog. And one evening, I was cleaning the stove and I just put the kettle on to boil. And I'm wiping the stove and I had completely forgotten that the kettle was on, and I nearly put the sponge in my bare hands in an open flame.
Ooh. So you're smart enough to figure it out. That there's something desperately wrong. You go to see your physician, he gets an MRI.
Right.
And what did that show?
So I have epilepsy, so I was kind of in an interesting situation where my neurologist has MRIs from previous years in my medical records. And what he found when he looked at the MRI in May was subtle structural abnormalities to both hippocampi. Now, Dr. Oz, as you know, the hippocampus is associated with memory function, in particular, the encoding and recall of memory. So he thinks that maybe it had something to do with COVID. It could also be related to my epilepsy, or it could simply be an overreading of the brain scan. I do really want to stress that anyone who is suffering from neurological symptoms really needs to talk to a doctor, and especially if you have a pre-existing neurological condition. It had been 10 years since I had had a seizure, and I started having partial seizures.
After you had COVID-19?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy you're doing well.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. And these lingering symptoms, I know that you've had them and many others have them. They're common, much more than we appreciated. You can read much more about Jessica's story on droz.com.